people seek the information of what the property market is up to. So much so, every time us real estate agents meet people, they will pick and pick and pick, trying to understand what the property market is doing. We're going to give you a summary that mainstream media is never going to give you. Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Josh Webshot.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Yeah, good. You.
Yeah, good. Excited to speak a little about this one this morning.
Yeah, so you're out there, you're talking to prospective commercial tenants, you're talking to prospective buyers in residential. You're sort of nicely stretched across all the markets in real estate, and you wanted to talk about this topic this morning.
Yeah, I did. I've had a lot of interesting conversations. Obviously, if anyone didn't know, Novak's a little different. Essentially, we have all agents selling properties under the banner. So I work with a lot of buyers a lot of the time as well. And one of the main things I've had come back to me over the last 2 weeks specifically is what people are hearing on TV or the media versus reality. And that being that they're missing out on properties, or properties are going, or far exceeding their expectations in terms of price. But when they're at home at 7 o'clock for the 6:30, 6 o'clock news, it's doom and gloom. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Interest rates, this, that. So I guess they're very confused because they hear one thing from online news, all those sources, and then they're in amongst the property buying journey, and if they find it to be quite different.
Oh, I like doom and boom. Because you open up like one thing, and then like 3 days later you open up something, you're like, I thought, like, the market's gonna explode. No, it's gonna it's hard. um and you know what's different these days? I love the saying, it actually shits people when I say it, and they go, how's the property market? And I go, look, it's been really, really good the last 100 years, and I think it'll be equally, really, really good the next 100 years. And they're like, it's not the answer people want, but it is the reality. So,
Exactly.
it's one of those things where our appetite for information, um, on the spot straight away, is far greater than what it ever used to be. So, people's consumption of it's almost like checking your watch, checking the time. It's like almost like the property market. People used to just be a lot more. You'd get your data quarterly, or you know coming through from banks and inflation. Now we're getting our data daily. Um, it's it's it, it's not that, like, people are like ice addicts with it, but people are just more like, what's happening on the
Yeah,
market.
very reactive, very reactive.
Yeah.
We are talking about an example from one of our teammates in or colleagues within Novak. Had a property on market, unit, 2 beds, 1 bath, 1 car, lock up. Um, Elderly vendor there needed a certain amount of money to move on to their next steps or next journey. So it'd been on market for numerous weeks. Then all of a sudden, last 2 weeks, open homes numbers skyrocketed. So originally we were looking at 3 to 4. All of a sudden you're getting double digits, nine, tens, and over. And all of a sudden that negotiations, price level wise, almost another 100,000 from where the best offer was from the previous 6 weeks, which unit wise is huge, almost 10%. So that factor of new buyers entering the market, I think we're speaking about that 2 bed or under a mil is the stock that seems to be going crazy right now. And that was one of the big examples we had.
Yeah, look,
Quite astounding.
and that core unit market, that sort of, two betters between 750 to 950, that's a big market in the northern beaches of Sydney. It's sort of slightly tucked on around the first home buyer market. It's a huge market, and I've witnessed just in the last 20 months, you could have put your finger on a two better for 750 quite comfortably. Now, we're from what we're seeing, like right up to now, as in today, that figure's getting more towards 950. That's a frightening. The data wouldn't have come through on that for RP data or for banks or stuff like that. But I've got a feeling, guys and girls who are watching, I've got a feeling there's a real big rumble in that affordable market for
Mm.
units and houses. Big rumble.
Yeah, you can definitely feel, you feel something's coming. You start to see it in the little things, a little bit faster in terms of commitment from buyers, your
Yeah.
numbers starting to stack up at open homes. And it does really have that feel. And then what we were talking about this morning before we got on was that essential market of your entry level houses, your entry level units. Well, then how does that affect the rest of the market? And where does that money flow onto? Did you want to go through that, Mark? What we spoke about this morning?
Yeah, look, I think it's interesting the word you just used, essential. The word that's coined around by governments is affordable. And I think everyone raises their their eyebrow to that word because it's like, how the hell can affordable be? Blah 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 rent or blah 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 blah. It's sort of it's not sort of one size fits all. It
Mm,
actually almost insults people using that word affordable, because it's like, man, how are you going to afford a million for a unit for $1 million? That ain't affordable. I love the word essential because I think essential is one of those um, uh, a section of the market at the moment where the business has got to be done. It's
mm,
essential. It's an essential part of the market because they're selling their one bedrooms and they're going into two bedrooms. That's essential. The family's growing, or they're going out of the two bedroom into a three-bedroom townhouse. Can't afford a house. That's essential. Or they're going in from the townhouse to the little house. That's essential. Going from the five-bedroom home to the five-bedroom waterfront ain't nowhere near essential. So the parts of the markets that we can identify as agents at the moment that are doing exceptionally well are the essential parts of the market. Now, the thing that I
mm.
love about that is that's applicable to all parts of Sydney. You can say in any part of Sydney, oh yes, that's an essential type of price point or category of property. That is not essential. Very easy to identify that way.
Yeah, wow. And then, like you said, that you got that flow-on effect of obviously, your smaller unit going to a bigger unit. Your seller of the bigger unit going into an entry-level house. So it's almost like a food chain of sorts. But once it starts to begin in
Yeah.
from the start, from your first home buyers, that should definitely follow through. And it sort of lines up with their expectations of a better growth rate in 2026. If we're starting to see this now, heading into the third quarter of 2025, it definitely gives that time for that price action to move up through the asset classes and makes 2026 look like a good year for property.
Well, I think on going out on that, I think if I was to be punting, that's what I'd exactly say. That look, I think we've got to be careful here. When rates go down, your economy's sort of shit the bed, right? It's not a good. We all pray for the rates to go down, but we don't pray for the economy to be crap. So
Mm,
when they're trying to correct, they're trying to make good and get people, you know, kicking kicking along a little bit more when they're bringing the rates down. Normally, when property prices are absolutely skyrocketing, that's when you'll see them put rates up. So it's sort of like be real careful what you wish for, because at the moment, I do think what you said, part of me saying, well, the economy's, it ain't that good that they're bringing the rates down. Then part of me saying, oh, market, the essential part of the market's going to boom. I think you're right, and I think guys and girls, if you want to identify in your marketplace, you know what you should be buying and what's going to perform well, essential would be good. Put your essential glasses on, whether you're an investor, whether you're an owner occupier, and let's face it, you ain't going to be doing anything luxury on a 10% interest rate, but you are going to be doing something luxury on a 2% interest rate. So we've come off an environment where money was, it wasn't for free, but it was almost for free, and we're in firmly in an environment now where the rates are, you know, above median. I wouldn't say expensive, but it forces your hand to be a little bit more conservative in spending with property prices or investing. Bottom line, I reckon we're going to see. Oh, I was with a bunch of private bankers last night, and something that I thought was very, very interesting that we were talking about was, they were chatting, asking me pretty much this question, and what I was saying is, in any of your markets where you are, check if your market is overcooked. Check if your market is undercooked. That is going to identify what your property market's going to be doing. And the way you do that, and Josh, you probably hear me rattle on about this all the time, is your rolling 10-year average of capital growth. If your property values that you're looking at have already doubled over a 10-year period, then I would suggest you're on track. If they've more than doubled over the last 10 years, I would suggest your market's overcooked and I wouldn't be buying that asset. If your market is 50% over the last 10 years, I think you've got some good room for growth.
It is a great metric and probably something very handy, Mark, for people to use, engage.
Ask your local agent if you can't get your finger on the data, but CoreLogic and RP Data aggregates all that information, i.e., houses in all the suburbs around our area, 10 suburbs. They've all done it between 95 to 105%. They've doubled. Units, the rolling 10-year average of the last 10 years, 50%. I'm banking strata, essential stuff is going to do very well. I'm banking houses are going to level out a little bit.
Wow. I'd say I'd probably be on trend with you there. I think units will continue to do well, that aging population. We've got a couple of new sets coming out over at Casa Del Mar, Hamptons, and Havana down in DY. And yeah, they've been snapped up quite well. So I think it'll be interesting to see how these off the plan projects perform heading into a market in 18 months, 12 months time.
Yeah. Well, those retirees, that's essential.
Exactly.
They just can't do the house any longer. They've been there for 52 years. They got to get a unit. So they
Yep.
will go into that segment of the market because it's an essential move and they ain't got time.
Exactly right. Well, I think we covered that this morning, Mark. That was good info out for the for viewers.
Hopefully we help some people that are scratching their head.
The property market can do that to you.
Yeah. Have a great day, mate. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
See you guys. Cheers. Bye.